cappella punk. God, that'd be interesting. You know. Yeah. So, GoatZilla.
Yeah.
Awesome. It's
GoatZilla.
wonderful to have you here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's fun to be here.
Cool. I'm pleased. I'm really pleased. The idea is fun, and I'm sure that you guys have a lot of fun in the band.
So, well, that's why you do it. So it's music as you know, is a pretty expensive kind of hobby.
Yeah.
And right about now, it's not paying a huge amount for anybody, even the big names.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, you've got to love it, and it's got to be fun.
Yeah.
It's a lot of hard work, but it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, yeah.
Well, I know that in, was it 2019, you guys won the 4ZZZ Hot 100 for Motherfuckersaurus.
Yeah. Oh, no, it was actually the single. It was
Oh, it was
Drop
a single.
Bear. Yeah, it's a single. Yeah, it's the Hot 100 single stuff.
I should have known that.
The album's Motherfuckersaurus.
Yes.
But the single was Drop Bear. So
Yeah, right. Yeah.
and that was cool. That was really weird. That was a total spin out because it's we had the recording, and we got a fair bit of play on Triple Z. Triple Z is really cool, and the people are always looking for new music and everything.
Yeah.
And if you got something released, they will play loads and loads, especially local Brisbane stuff. So
Yeah.
we got that out there, and we were fortunate enough to get some interest by a couple of YouTubers. So Aussie Ethan Morel, Aussie Man Reviews.
Oh yeah.
So he liked the stuff, and he used some of our tracks as backing music on some of his videos.
Oh, sick.
And I said, "Oh, look, that's awesome of you. Thanks. We've done a video for Drop Bear." So I'd animated this video.
Yeah, right.
Mainly on PowerPoint, interestingly. So I spent hours kind of on the train up to work from the Gold Coast to Brisbane animating this thing. And I thought, I don't want to put all this time, because it took me about 6 months to animate this thing just on train journeys.
Wow.
That I don't want to do this and then put it on YouTube and have like 6 views or something.
Yeah.
So Aussie Man liked us up, and I said, "Look, can you give the video a bit of a plug?" And he said, "Yeah, sure." So he put it on his Facebook page and put some links to it on YouTube, and the thing just went nuts.
It would have blown up,
and
because he's got millions of followers, doesn't he?
He does, yeah. So it was that's what kicked us off, and then we got a load of follows and everything. And it was around the time that the Hot 100 voting had opened.
Yeah.
And so we'd had this thing on there, vote for us. And so we got all of these votes, and they were doing the countdown, and I was sitting there kind of just doing some stuff on the computer, and I had the Hot 100 in the background, and it got up to about 20 or something. I thought, oh no, we haven't done anything. It's kind of missed out altogether. Bugger. And then I kept flicking back, and it was at the end, and I flicked on after it was all over, because I wasn't expecting to get in the top 10.
Yeah.
It said number 1, GoatZilla, and I went, what the? And I called my wife, and I said, "Am I reading this right?" And she said, yeah. And I went, "Holy crap!" So that was absolutely trippy. So
that's awesome.
So that was really, really cool. I was absolutely stoked with that.
Congratulations.
No, thank you.
I'm sure you've heard that many times, but you haven't yet heard it from me. So congratulations. I think it's really fantastic. Yeah. And anything in the Zeds at the moment that maybe we'll get another nomination? Or
we're working on a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
We went back and forth to the studio for a good while, trying to do stuff, and it was, let's see, the studios that we were trying to work with, because of COVID, there was all kinds of restrictions getting in and out.
Yeah.
And we ended up just going, look, bugger this, and we've now. Everybody's gone and bought a whole heap of gear, which means that now we can record our own stuff from home.
Yep.
So what we'll do is we'll go to Mick, our drummer. He's actually gone to the extent of gutting his garage.
Right.
So he had a double garage, and it was already set up as a drum room. We'd go and rehearse there.
Yep.
He's gutted it, put in all these walls, and he's turned it into a studio.
Wow, that's awesome.
He's
like
getting,
with a vocal booth and all, or?
So yeah. Wow. So he's got drum booth. So
drum booth, okay.
He's a drummer, so he's doing it there. So he's got that. He's going to be putting in a desk and everything like that.
Wow.
So he's got that. The 2 Petes, we've got both guitarists are Pete, so they're P1 and P2. So they've got these little amp emulator units that they play through. So they can emulate the cabs and amps and everything like that, rather than blasting it out at home.
Yeah.
So they'll do it there. And then put the amps, when we're ready to record guitars, we can take it into mix place and do that.
Yeah.
And I just do the vocals and bass at home. So cats don't like it too much, but my wife sits there with headphones on and she listens to something else, and I'm doing it, and the cats disappear into whatever room she's locked herself away in. But no, it's handy. You can do that kind of thing now. So back to where did we start? New music. Yeah. So we've got a bunch of stuff that we're working on. We've got 2 that are just about totally finished. There's a 3rd one that we're about halfway through, and there's a few others that we're starting off. So, yeah, hopefully, maybe the end of this year, maybe start of next year, we'll have it ready to roll.
Yeah, right. Are these new songs, or ones that sort of you had at the same time as writing Motherfuckersaurus, but left off for one reason or another?
They're all. We weren't performing any of them when we did Motherfuckersaurus.
Yeah.
And then we started to. Cause we had a bit of a lineup change. So we've had we got a new drummer and a new guitarist in.
Right.
So it was myself and P1 who was on Motherfuckersaurus. And then we got in Mick Davies, who's a drummer, who also, amazing drummer, he also plays for Tetrament, who's a real metal band.
Right.
And Pete Jansen, who's played in a bunch of bands. He toured the US years ago and everything.
For some reason, the name Pete Jansen sort of rings a bell, but maybe not. I don't know. Is there another Jansen?
With the real Pete Jansen stand up? I don't know. You'd have to. There's probably a few of them around.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, no, so we got those guys in, and then we started writing new stuff. And I had a couple of songs that I was kind of working on, hadn't really gotten anywhere with, and then came in with these guys, and that kind of injected a whole heap of new life into it.
Yeah.
And the great thing is that's kind of when the way that we write, because all 4 of us get it, somebody will come up with a basic idea, track it.
Yeah.
And then we all get together, have a listen, and people come in with different ideas. And by the time we get to the stage, it's ready to go on stage. It's totally different to the way that it started out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or at least 60, at least 70%'s the same. But there's a good chunk that's quite different. But it's a lot of fun. So this is some of the stuff we've been playing for a while because we play it on stage, work out what we want to do with it, and then go and record it. So
right. Okay.
And some of the stuff it's kind of we've never taken on stage. So
Okay. Sure. So you sort of live test it a little bit, get a bit of a feel for it, and maybe a bit of audience feedback sort of thing before just deciding whether or not to commit it to a full recording.
Yeah, do a couple. Yeah, play it once it's played through live a few times. You start to get a feel as to what works and what you should change.
Yeah, absolutely.
What you think might be really good when you're starting off, you get up on stage, you play it, and you just go, no, we shouldn't have done that. We should have done something else. So, but it's every song's like that. I mean, even stuff that we've recorded on Motherfuckersaurus, we'll still come, one of the guys will say, hey, how about we try this? And it morphs. So everything's a work in progress.
Yeah, sure.
It is not like one locked in permanent official version that never gets changed. So it all grows and morphs. And,
sure.
And it's a living thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I can certainly appreciate that. I don't think that any of my original songs have ever been played the same each time. It just doesn't work like that. It depends on the feeling at the time. It depends on how many drinks you've had. It depends on several different things. So I can definitely appreciate that ever evolving sort of organism that is music. It's wonderful, and I think it's kind of a bit more raw or real. Rather than you go to a gig and it sounds exactly like the CD, and you're kind of like, well, where's the personality? You know what I mean? Maybe if you were going to a Michael Jackson gig or something, you might want it to sound exactly as is, but certainly with my type of music, you wouldn't want it to sound exactly as is. Yeah. And on that, my favourite song on your album would have to be Pink Canoe. It's for anyone listening or watching, jump on Spotify and check it out. But along with all the other tracks, but it's funny lyrically, but it's really clever musically, and I think that combination is really good. Do you know what I mean? Because it's not just another funny song, and it's not just another technical song where the lyrics are kind of, they could be on any track. It's like these lyrics are funny and dirty and all that sort of stuff, but put to clever music. And yeah, so
No, thank you, thank you. No, it was fun to write. I mean, it's to play. It's bloody fast. I mean, it is a really fast. It's a fast one to play.
Yeah.
But no, it was just all this silly double entendre that is kind of I came up with, and it's kind of. Yeah, it was a fun one to write. We don't actually play it live a lot anymore.
Okay.
There's so many tracks that we do live, and I mean the sets that we do in the scene that we play, they tend to be like half hour, 40 minutes, 50 minutes if you get a really long one.
Yeah.
So we've got to be pretty brutal as to which ones we include, which ones we leave out.
Yeah.
And what we're doing now is we're focusing a lot on the newest stuff that we've written as the group as the official GoatZilla as we have now.
Sure, to sort of showcase that stuff.
Yeah. Because I wrote that one by myself. So, but the stuff we do now is all a group effort, and it's kind of it's just it just tends to get more energy into it and everything because everybody's got ownership of the piece.
Yeah, of course.
And it just drives, and it's a lot more fun to play. So
yeah. How long has GoatZilla, despite the lineup change, how long has GoatZilla as a band sort of existed for?
We started in 2015.
Okay, so what's that, 7 years? Yeah.
Yeah. So 7 years. The current lineup we got together in 2015 because it was during the recording of the album we had the whole the lineup change. So we'd finished tracking and then the guys left. So
I see.
So then it was Pete and myself who kind of had this album finished and ready to go, and half a band. So we went out and fortunately it didn't take very long for Mick and Pete to come on board.
That's good.
And we were able to go out and get behind it and start gigging. So
yeah, that's good. It can be really difficult to find musicians that are close enough by for rehearsals and all that sort of stuff, have the similar desire that you have to gig, the similar willingness for rehearsals and commitment and all that sort of stuff. It can be, and want to play all the same type of music. It can be a real fucking nightmare to find those people. So.
The most difficult one is finding people who gel.
Yes, yeah.
Because you got to spend a lot of time together.
100%.
And you know what it's like. I mean, it's a creative process, and when you come up with something creative, there's no right and wrong. It's just what feels right to you. Mm-hmm. So you've got to work with people who you're comfortable with saying, yes, no, I like this, I don't like this.
Yeah.
And for people not to get all kind of arty attack and, it's kind of, and take it personally and get a case of the sulk. So we didn't have that in the early line. We don't have it here, but I know of a lot of people who do have dramas like that.
Yeah.
But no, it's a big thing. Yeah, and you spend a lot of time together, and what we're hoping to do now that the plague's finally behind us.
Yeah.
Touch wood.
Yeah.
is get out and start touring more. So get down to Melbourne, get down to Sydney, get out to Aotearoa, across the Dutch. And they've got a
go see my
huge
people.
rock scene out there, apparently. Yeah. I found out something. They have, they have the majority of their music stations across New Zealand are rock stations.
Yeah. Well, the big one is called The Rock.
Yeah. So there's a load, and I was quite surprised at that. But from what I understand, there's a really good scene there, and there's top bands come out of the place as well too.
It's interesting. New Zealand's got a big rock scene and a big reggae scene, and obviously other genres as well. But those two genres are really big, and but quite different as well from each other.
Well, I want the the D4 to get back together, and I want the Datsuns to get back together.
I love the Datsuns.
So
I
yeah,
love the
D4 and the Datsuns.
Yeah.
If you're watching, rejoin tour, and GoatZilla wants to support you.
Yeah, there you go. I love it. That's great. Yeah. It would be great to see the Datsuns again. But there are so many good bands that came out of New Zealand, and obviously a shit ton out of here in Australia. But we're sort of blessed, I guess, in that way for the amount of talent that's around. I just think it's such a shame how few stages are around. You know, compared to the old days, there are still plenty of stages around, but nowhere near as many as what there used to be, because so many bars can't afford to have a stage. They get rid of it and put in pokies.
Or turn it into a gastro pub. And
I
think Australia's got more than enough gastro pubs.
Yeah.
We need more art spaces. We need more places to play. There's people out. There's a small group of hardcore publicans who are sticking by us, and people like Chris Tryhorn down on the Gold Coast, who runs Mo's Desert Clubhouse.
Yeah, I know.
He set that up in an industrial area, so that because it was just a lot less red tape, from what I understand, than trying to set up something in a pub.
Yeah, right.
And that was just before COVID. So he sunk all this money into it, and all of a sudden, bang, he can't do
live
anything.
music.
But he's stuck with it, and fortunately, he's managed to come out the other end.
Good.
And he's done okay. I unfortunately don't know the name of the people who run Vinnie's on the Gold Coast either, but they did it. I know that they did it tough, but they've done a great job getting Vinnie's Dive Bar on the Gold Coast up and running. So more power to them.
Yeah,
it's great. And I know that there's the venues up here in Brizzy. It's like the Zoo that relies purely on music. Yeah. So they've done great things for being great supporter of the Brisbane music scene, and they've opened King Lear's Throne underneath it, was a small little
underneath the zoo.
Underneath the zoo,
Okay.
Couple of stores up on street level.
Yeah, right.
So,
okay.
But that's a fun little venue to play. A hell of a lot smaller. It's like a corridor.
Yeah.
Makes this look huge. But,
but
it's fun. So there's a lot of people behind the scenes who got hammered badly with COVID.
Absolutely.
Who the music scene depends upon, and it's like the Chris Tryhorns and the Vinnie's guys and the Zoo people who. The music scene needs, and we need people to get out there and go to those venues and support them, buy a beer or two, and see some bands.
Absolutely.
To keep it going.
Yeah, that's right, and that's the thing. Live music, in order for it to continue existing, it requires patrons. It requires people going along, supporting different bands, and don't leave just because your band has finished playing. Stick around and watch the rest of them.
Totally, yeah.
I'm sure you can relate to what I'm saying there.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to know, to go back to Pink Canoe.
Pink Canoe.
Well, sorry. More importantly, to go back to Motherfuckersaurus.
Yeah.
Because I always find it interesting the creative process, but behind writing songs and then albums as well. But what's your typical sort of process? Do you have one? Like, do you normally write the bass lines and then figure out the lyrics, or do you sort of normally have some lyric ideas and then throw some bass to it, or how does it normally work?
I think a lot of vocalists do the same thing. You keep notes down, and you'll just have a lyric pop into your head or a couple of lines. Think, oh, that sounds good, and just note it down. You end up with this big stack. I do it on my phone, and I've got notes in my phone. I've got all these bits and pieces of sayings, and I can flick through those. But no, generally the way that it works is, I'll start off with. I'll just be jamming on guitar and practicing, or bass.
Yeah.
And I'll come up with a riff and go, that's all right. That sounds good.
Yeah.
And start getting something together for that, and then try to find 3 riffs that work well together, that complement each other. Okay. And so you've got you got your hook, you got your chorus, you got your verse, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And try to get all of those 3 to match together. And then once I've got that and I'm happy with the chord progression and the way that the riff's set, I'll go, okay, so what can I sing to this? What suits the sound of that riff? And I'll just kind of come up with a phrase. And then once I find a phrase, I go, right, let's work let's work something around that, and I'll either write a story around it, or it's generally a storyline that I try to come up
and then
with.
just flesh it out, sort of thing.
Yeah.
One of the things that I've always found the most difficult, for some reason, and it just seems to be my Achilles heel, is the third verse. You know, I'll have an idea, and that will give me the first and the second verse, and the chorus normally is just kind of a screen grab of that. And then the third verse, I'm like, I've said everything I needed to say. Fuck, what do I do now? You know, I've always sort of struggled with that third verse, no matter what the song is. Do you have a particular sort of part, or you know, that where you kind of have the same sort of thing, where you're like, I'm going to struggle with this bit, but you find a way through it? Or do you just tend to find that every song is quite different for you? Some of them come easy, some of them don't.
Oh, some of them just come very easy and quickly and just zip through. Like Drop Bear, as I mentioned earlier, that kind of, there was just a joke lyric that I put together, and that kind of came together in about 5 minutes. I just did the whole thing. And the opening track, High Octane,
that's a good track
came
too,
together. All right, that was Johnny Chaos, who we started the band with, who wrote the music for that. So I did the verse, but did the lyrics. But some of it works really easily. What I do try to do is just try to get verses and phrases that all kind of line up, that work along the same theme, and sit rhythmically. So, because otherwise, if you try to fit too many syllables into something, especially if the songs are reasonably fast, like we play, I think the slowest one we do is about 160 BPM or something, so everything's fairly fair. We're not mega fast, we're not like death metal fast or anything, but if you're singing lyrics that you want to be intelligible and to be understood as part of the whole thing, you got to make sure you put in as few syllables as possible.
Exactly.
And when you're singing them, they've got to hit on the beat or the half beat. They've got to hit at the right time. And so I just come up with different patterns with that. The bugger happens when I come up with what I think is a really good line or a good couplet. And then I've chosen words that you can't rhyme anything else with. Like there's too few to rhyme. You go, where do I go? So I get online with the rhyming dictionary. Go, what else can I use? There's nothing that comes up, and so it ends up getting sidelined for something else.
Yeah, sure.
But no, I just work it through and get a whole heap of different. Depending on what the structure is, I'll get a whole heap of different lines that rhyme together and work well together, and then try to beat it into shape so it fits whatever the line of the theme of the story is that I'm trying to tell within the song. And I try to come out with more verses than we'll actually use.
Okay, well, that's a good way to do it.
Because, So I'll aim for, there's one that we're working on at the moment called Black Dog Blues, for example. We wrote it initially. It had 4 verses in it. And we were playing it through, and the guys were saying, "No, look, it's too long. We'll drop a verse." So drop the verse out, boom, it's gone, and the whole song sits a lot better now.
Nice.
But if you aim to do extra, and then you can always cut it back.
Yeah, that's a good idea. There we go. I appreciate learning something there. Have you guys been gigging a lot since everything sort of has opened back up again? Like, did you find that? I know that you have played gigs recently. I follow you guys on Facebook, obviously, so I see your notifications and posters and what have you. But I guess what I'm asking is, did you find that when we were finally allowed to be together again, were you able to sort of grab some gigs pretty quickly, or was it a bit of a grind being able to get back into it? Or
we had a bunch of gigs that were canned, and then they put back on, like Wallapalooza, so that was the big festival. That actually worked out really well for Andy, the organiser, because he originally had started off, it was just going to be a local. Because Wallapalooza, for those who don't know, it's a Gold Coast institution held at the Wallaby Hotel. As I think, what number was this? I think this was the 14th or the 15th one. And it's all heavier music. And it got canned due to COVID, got bounced a couple of years, and then he managed to hook up with some people from another touring organisation who were touring Grinspoon and Bonnie Jar in 28 days and a whole heap of really big acts. And so we just went, right, put the two together.
Oh, sick.
So then loads of local bands like us and Eat City and Rhino, we all got out and got to play with bands like that, and I got to play with the Poor, so which is awesome as well. Another top band who are now based here in Brisbane, the Gold Coast.
Right. Yep.
We got to play with them a few weeks ago as well, actually. So which was handy at the Mansfield Tavern. So that's
I think
really cool.
Swamp Gully Howlers were at that as well, maybe.
I think they would.
I know that you guys played a gig recently that Swamp Gully Howlers were at as well, but I can't remember if it was that one.
Either that or Shredfest. I can't remember.
Might have been
which one. Yeah, Shredfest was over 2 days, so we were on the first day.
Yeah.
But so that worked out. That worked really well. What else? We played. So we played Shredfest. Played Thrashville as a festival down the Hunter Valley called Thrashville.
Yep.
It's out in this big. It's out in the middle of nowhere. It's be a great place for a bush doof. But the people who own the property put on rock concerts. They do other stuff as well. They do country and
that's cool.
And other bits and pieces. But yeah, they've got 2 stages permanently set up.
Nice.
And you can camp in and around the area.
Yeah.
And just this beautiful setting out in the bush, out in nature, and you can be loud as you like and not have to worry about
that's fantastic.
The neighbours.
Like our very own Woodstock.
So yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
That's cool.
So we got to play that, and Ezekiel Ox was headlining that. So Ezekiel Ox and the Evidence. So that was cool because I got introduced to him when he was playing with Super Heist, and awesome front man, probably the best front man in Australia.
Wow.
So
that's
brilliant.
cool.
It's there's daylight between him and anybody else that I can think of.
Wow.
So, amazing guy to see live.
Cool.
So
Ezekiel Heist.
So Ezekiel Ox. Ezekiel Ox. He played Mammal. Ezekiel Ox and the Evidence. And I think there is 2 acts at the moment. So
nice.
Awesome performer. So so we played there. Yeah, we played Shredfest, which is big heavy metal festival. Over 2 days, the back room.
The back room's great. I've played there a few times. I like it.
Awesome sound, yeah.
It's great sound. Great sound. Do you remember the Tempo in the Valley?
No.
So just up on Brunswick, if you were at the zoo, you came out of the zoo and walked up, what's that, Ann Street or Wickham? No, that's Ann Street. Walk up Ann a little bit, turn left onto Brunswick.
Yeah.
And then it was on the left-hand side, like just after the next set of traffic.
Place.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that had, I think, in terms of for smaller venues, I think it had one of the coolest stages and amazing sound. I don't know if it went out of business, but one reason or another it closed down, and then the back room kind of filled a lot of that spot. You know, like in terms of a good stage with its own bar right there. Nice little green room, and that leads straight out onto the stage. Really good sound. Like they put money and thought and care into it. Yeah. Anyway, sorry to sidetrack there. I was just wondering whether or not you guys had played the Tempo, but that was one of my favourite local sort of small ones to play.
Right. Yeah. No, but we played there. Another place, really good sound. Great place to play as well. Mansfield Tavern. So we played there for Heavy Magazine's 10th birthday. They also had a gig down at Moe's and the Gold Coast as well. So we played that too. So we did the Gold Coast and the Mansfield one. And we're actually back at Mansfield in November for people who are watching this before November 2022. It will be, that's Rock Beats Depression. So that's a fundraiser for Black Dog Institute, Beyond Blue and Headspace. Yeah. That's going to be hopefully a regular thing. Great cause. I think lots of people have been have been touched by people who've gotten really in a really bad place in their lives. Absolutely. And they need help from those 3 organisations I mentioned do a massive amount of good work for people. Yeah. Because guys especially tend to be very reticent to come out and go, I've got a sad on. I'm really feeling stuffed at the moment. I need help. It's difficult to come out and do that. And so these organisations are there to fill the gap and go, okay, find your mates, go out, talk to them, and everything like that. And if you can't, we're here to help you. So it's a very important cause.
It is. Yeah, Rock Beats Depression. That organisation, the people that are behind that, they also they used to do it at the back room. In Annerley, and we played at that. They also did one Rock Beats Cancer. Perhaps another one as well. I don't know, but so that's now down at Mansfield Tavern.
Mansfield Tavern this year, November the 5th.
Cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very cool. Top line up on that as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Loads of really good Brisbane local bands. I put a Spotify playlist together. So if you go into Spotify and look up, because this will stay up there forever.
Yeah.
One of the good things about Spotify, there's a lot of things about Spotify that suck heavily, like the way they pay people.
Yeah.
But there's also a lot of good things. You can put playlists together there and it'll stay up there forever.
Yeah.
And small bands can get out to a very good audience.
Yeah.
And because some of the bands I hadn't, I'd heard of, but I hadn't gotten to see them. We hadn't got to play them, or I wasn't able to get out to see them the night they were playing.
Yeah, right.
But just listening to their stuff on Spotify, I was going, wow.
Yeah.
This is cool. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. So there's a massive number of highly talented bands in the southeast Queensland.
Oh, there is. Yeah.
And only a very small number of places to play.
Yes.
And of course we're southeast Queensland's growing.
Yeah.
But it's still not like Melbourne. Melbourne's kind of the music's entrenched. It's part of the culture.
It is, yeah.
And people will go out just specifically to see new live music up there. There's a little bit of that there up here, and the people up here who do that are they're golden unicorns. They're wonderful.
Yeah,
so it's
I agree.
Awesome of them for coming out and doing that.
Yeah.
But it's not we don't have anywhere near the numbers that Melbourne does, unfortunately. So
exactly,
these guys need support and need to be heard.
Yeah.
And then you get into the problem that Australia's got to the rest of the world, because we're on the other side of the planet, literally to Europe, where all the massive festivals are that kind of run for. Yeah, they've got like 9 months of the year. It's festival after festival after festival in different countries and everything. And then they shut down for winter.
Yeah, bands there can just kind of tour. They can just follow that festival circuit.
Yeah.
And you can do that here as well, but it's a lot harder financially, but also because our festival scene isn't as big as it is in the likes of Europe. There's not as many of them, and every band wants to be on the bill. So but have you guys played much in the way of festival circuit sort of thing, or
nothing? No. We've played the local festivals up here in Brisbane. We've played big festivals in. We played Thrashville in the Hunter, as I mentioned, and we got to play. We played Walla up here, which was fantastic experience.
Yeah, cool.
But no, that's what we need to start doing. We've got to pick back up playing again.
Yeah.
When COVID came, we had all these plans. We were going to go to Melbourne, going to go to Sydney. We were going to tour, take over the world, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it all fell in a screaming heap for everybody.
Yeah.
So now everybody's starting to pick back up again. The problem is, of course, there's a lot of venues that were putting on music that don't anymore, because they had to find different ways to make money. Yeah. Or they sold the premises and they're
some of them just unfortunately went belly up.
Yeah, exactly. So and a lot of the promoters, they went off, found other jobs. A lot of the booking agents went to do something else. You've got the soundies, you've got the PR people, you've got this whole ecosystem. It's an industry that even for the local music scene, you've got so many people involved in keeping it running. And they've all gone, so now everything's kind of got to come back together. It will come back together. It's just going to take time.
Take a bit of time.
So, so we don't have that kind of scene here, and unfortunately, the music festivals get turned into a bit of a political football with outraged parents saying, "Oh, it's just drugs. It's all about the drugs." And it's
nothing but noise.
It's kind of no, that's the raves you're thinking about.
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of not the metal and rock scene. No, it's not. No. But yeah, we'll see. Hopefully, we'll if there's enough bandwidth in the government's budgets, there'll be some money thrown towards some music development, which we badly need. Yeah.
Hopefully. I don't know where that ended up at with the last budget, but I know that it wasn't looking shit hot. So yeah, we shall see. But I guess in the meantime, as you were just saying, if people go out and support bands, then the venue owners are going to see that it's worthwhile having bands on, and so they'll do it more and more and more. So
apparently, a lot of them found some of them during COVID found that when COVID hit, they could start getting people in. That one way to bring people back in was to put on small band nights, which worked well for some. So even though some of them, unfortunately, the financial hit was too much and they had to shut up shop, others decided, right, well, people aren't going to be coming in for a meal, so how do we get them in? Let's reintroduce live music. So they reintroduced the live music, and that's taken off fantastically.
Yeah. No, there are no shortage of venues that are certainly trying, and no shortage of bands that want to play. So we'll make it happen one way or another, slowly but surely. Yeah. Hey, can I pour you a drink? If you'd like.
This is Chats with Whiskey. And what's a chat with whiskey without whiskey?
That's a sound bite. I'll be keeping that one. So I've got some ginger wine, or obviously there is an actual whiskey.
What have you done in the bottle there?
You weren't meant to notice that.
There's something floating in the bottle.
And I'll change the camera back to me so I can just show it quickly. All right, since it's been pointed out. So Glen Grant.
Sorry about that.
No, it's fine. So actually, Glen Grant, if you lot are listening, figure this out, because I tried to pull the cork out, and the cork broke in half, and the rest of it's in there somewhere. So, anyway, we won't worry too much about that.
It's like the worms floating in the tequila bottle.
Yeah.
They don't have mescal worms in Scotland where they make scotch. So
I don't know how much.
What would it be? What would you put in a bottle of scotch? The Mexicans put in mescal worms. What would the Scots put in?
Some haggis.
Some haggis. Haggis infused whiskey.
Fuck, that would be gross.
Bloody
Cheers, brother.
Cheers, Sláinte.
Great to see you. While we're sipping on that, maybe it might entice you to share, hopefully, a story or a tale or two. Maybe of a gig that really stands out. Maybe, I don't know, something weird and wonderful happened, or the drummer turned up and forgot his snare, or who knows? If you got I'm sure you've got a tale or two. Every muso does. And it doesn't have to all be factual. We'll never know.
Well, make so once upon a time, galaxy far, far away. No, let's see. I won't name the pub because they don't deserve it, but there was one particular pub in a rather bushy area on the outskirts of Brisbane that we were playing, and we'd been looking forward to playing at this place for a good while, and there was a lineup of 3 bands, and the organizer, his band was playing in the middle, and we were playing up first.
Okay.
And so we got up there, started playing. I think we got through 3 songs, and during the whole time that we were there, there were these 2 groups in the crowd who kind of stood out. There was a group of older gentlemen who were from they're an indoor cricket team.
Oh, right. Okay.
And there was a group of younger guys who were it was a panel beating shop, and they had an indoor cricket team, and there was a group of younger guys as well who came in, and there was a little bit of niggle between the two. And anyway, we got up there, and we were playing away and having a great time.
Yeah.
And there was some of the guys from the cricket team were down there, and they would say, play some Barnsley or something like that. We go, we don't do Barnsley, we do our stuff.
Yeah.
They go, this is all right. We're playing, and they're rocking away. And anyway, the younger guys decide to come up and start dancing, and there's a bit of niggle between the two, and security kind of saw them off, and the younger guys disappeared. And then the older guys are standing there and just forgotten about. And the next thing, this other young guy just comes bowling into the crowd, tries to crash tackle this older guy into the ground, unsuccessfully, because the guy was about 3 times his size, and so it was like, trying to tackle a dumpster. It just didn't work. And then his mates came in, all of the other panel beaters' mates and cricket team came in, and there's this full-on brawl in the dust in front of us in front of the stage.
Wow!
And then security started coming in from left, right, and centre.
Wow.
It was inside the beer garden area, and you could either get into the beer garden through the pub or through these big gates at the back.
Right.
Security separated the groups, closed off the gates, closed up the doors so nobody could leave. So we're all stuck in there with these 2 groups of people who wanted to kill each other, waiting for the cops to arrive.
Shit.
So, and then the local constabulary kind of wandered in and started speaking to people, and eventually we were allowed to leave. But we got 3 songs in it. The other 2 bands didn't even get a look in.
Wow.
And we'd driven quite a long distance to get out to this place as well. So that was a bit, that was.
Well, thank God you guys were on first that time.
Yeah, at least we got to turn on the amps. So,
exactly. Yeah,
but that is I've got to say that is the only time I've ever seen any violence or niggle at a rock gig. It's kind of normally you go past the nightclubs and you get people all jazzed up on trucky powder and
trucky powder
and too many steroids and dancing tablets and everything, and they're wanting to have an argument, but no, the heavy scene is it stands out as being really friendly, really supportive. Yeah. And to be fair, that at that establishment, they weren't there for the music. They were just there for drinking. They were there to get tanked. It was a Friday night, and it wasn't the music crowd. So the heavy music scene's always really supportive, they look after everybody, which is why it's great to be part of it.
I agree. I've often found it weird when people, I guess it's people that perhaps don't listen to heavier music, they associate the sound of it with anger and then therefore associate the crowd with anger. Whereas say for example a song like Walk by Pantera.
Oh yeah.
The lyrics, if you break those lyrics down, well, you don't even have to break them down, just listen to the lyrics. It's all about respect. That song is all about respect. Yes, it's played loud and heavy, and some people associate loud and heavy with anger, but there is nothing angry about it, So yeah, I guess I find it interesting how often people do try and assume that heavy, let's just loosely call it all heavy metal, heavy rock, or heavier music. They try and associate it with anger when those in it or exposed to it know that that's very seldom the case.
I disagree a little bit there. There is in a lot of it there is a lot of anger, but it's an outlet. And it's expressing. It gives expression to feelings that people have got of. Don't want to get too deep talking about, just feelings of angst and just it is. It's anger at the world, anger and frustration, and because we've all got common experiences around that, about different things about life that sucks. That there's things that are beyond our control. And a lot of it will give voice to that, and it's an outlet. So you let all of that energy out. But at the same time, you're surrounded, especially if you're in a pit, you're surrounded by all of these people who are doing the same thing and feeling good about it. It's Bernadette, my wife, described it as it's a tribal type thing. So because you've got this absolutely pounding, thumping beat, and you've got this really visceral experience. You've got all the amps coming through, right through. You can feel them, and you've got all these people leaping around, and you're part of this, and it's a way to let anger out, but it's also an expression of, hey, we're alive, and we're above all of that shit, and we're better than all of this stuff that's keeping us down and keeping us unhappy. life is good and we want to yell about it.
Yeah.
And that's it. So yeah, it's not anger directed at each other. It's not pro-violence.
I guess that's what I meant. Like, I articulated it wrong. That it's an expression of the anger within. One of my all-time favourite bands, Rage Against the Machine. That, I mean, there's the word rage is in there, right? But, and that is about like acknowledging a situation or a collection of circumstances and being angry about that. But it's, I guess what I was getting at is that it's not about being angry it's not about being violent or at least not toward each other. Yeah. Maybe being incredibly angry at the system or at the situation or at the,
one of the songs that we do is called Fight to Win.
Right.
And P1 used to jokingly refer to that as our pro-violence song. The first time he said it was I didn't pick it up. I was joking. I was horrified. I was going, no, it's not a pro-violence song. He went, no, I'm joking. I went, oh, thank God for that. But I mean, but even that, it's called Fight to Win, and it's about, but it's about standing strong. It's about being true to what you believe. It's about supporting each other. Don't let the bastards grind you down.
Yes. Yeah.
Stay strong.
Yes.
And that's what it's about. So in the same way, walk is about respect.
Yeah. GoatZilla's not signed, but you do use a booking agent or a booking manager. Is that right?
Yeah. We work with Black Ruse Entertainment out of Sydney, who do a lot of metal and heavier gigs, and do a great job helping us get gigs and so on. So and there's a bunch of people around that who are really brilliant as well, who you don't necessarily have a formal relationship with, but you get to know, and they'll hook you up with gigs. So this is a bit of a look under the kimono of the local music scene, as it were. So I mean, people who if you work with people who run music publications like your Asterias and your heavy magazines and there's plenty of others out there. There's Good Call and so on. You get to know them, and because they're music magazines, they get contacted by people who want to advertise tours for touring bands, and those managers then ask them who would be good to support this act, and if they think you're a match, they'll put your name forward, and so that's how you get gigs. So it's all about managing. It's part of the bigger picture of being involved in a band. It's kind of you've got to manage all these relationships, and not that that's a bad thing. I mean, one of the things I love about music is the social aspect of it, meeting people, be it at gigs or through the whole business process or the musical process. Because there's some really bloody good people. There's some of the most interesting people in the world are musicians and artists, and you have top nights out, going out to pubs and just sitting down having a beer with people and listening to some fantastic new music. And that's what I love about it. It's not making music and playing music and writing music and recording music for me, it's one of the best things in the world. But when you roll it into this thing where you get to meet all these really good people, as well, interesting people who are doing interesting and different things, that makes it even better.
It's like the icing on the cake sort of.
So yeah. So there's an absolute top people out there.
Yeah, for sure. Do you find it a struggle, although perhaps a manageable struggle, but do you find it a struggle sort of being the front man and having to play that role as well? I guess what I'm getting at is that if you could wave a magic wand, would GoatZilla have management, or would you rather not outsource that?
Look, I enjoy doing it because it's for the band, and because the band's my passion, and I'm working with my wife helps me out a lot with the band, and the other guys put a lot of their time and a lot of their effort into it as well. So it's a real group thing, and so it's a passion for all of us. but the real enjoyment for me is the writing and the crafting of the songs and getting a song from an idea just you've scratched out at home plugged into the computer and turning it into something you can take out on stage and entertain people with.
Yeah.
The other stuff, I mean, this is the whole thing. It's the music and what ends up on stage or ends in the CD. It's really the tip of the iceberg as to what has to go on in the background.
Yeah.
Because you've got to do all that. You've got all the writing, you've got the rehearsing, you've got all there's a load of maintenance stuff that you've got to do for the gear as well. Especially if you're like us, we like the older school type of setups where we're all using valve amps.
Really? That's sick. Wow.
I even use a valve amp because I'm trying to go for that Lemmy sound on my bass. So I've got a PV Ultra 120. 120 watt tube head that I play through. It's a guitar head,
right?
But it actually gives me a bit of a better sound than the Marshalls, and I couldn't afford the Marshalls that Lemmy used to use anyway.
Yeah.
So they're too bloody expensive.
Yeah.
But you've got to keep them maintained. You've got to make sure that your guitars and your basses and the cost of drums is unbelievable.
Yeah.
And so you've got all of that. But then you've got all the administrative side of things as well. So you've got to you've got to find all the places that you can play.
Yes.
When you've been around for a little bit, like we have in Brisbane, that's not too difficult because there's plenty of places and you're always asked to play, and because people get to know you and you're invited or play. We could be playing every weekend of the year if we wanted, but it's then if you do that. You get really, you get a lot of great gigs in, but people go, oh yeah, saw them the other week.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. But then if you want to start heading off interstate, and to other bigger festivals, you've got to start worrying about insurance. You've got to start booking the acts out there, which is why we work with Black Cruz, who are helping us get those interstate gigs. But you also get to know other bands who've toured, and you make relationships with them.
Yes.
And they can help out generally getting a gig or two, but you can't rely on another band just out of the goodness of their heart.
Yeah, that's right.
To book you an entire tour in Melbourne.
Take you on the road with them, just to open for them the entire time.
Yeah. So you've got that. You've got, excuse me. You've got all of the stuff associated with putting an album together or recording together.
Yeah.
There's a huge amount that goes into that because you've got to do all your ARPA registrations. You've got to get the artwork together. You've got to get the thing. If you want to get the thing put onto CDs and artwork for that, then you've got to have it put into the right format, and it's got to be in a scalable vector graphics format so that they can produce it properly. And you've got, if you want to get it onto vinyl, that's another cost, and there's a whole other process. It's got to be mastered and mixed so that the bass sits right on vinyl and doesn't kick the needle out, or you don't have phasing issues. And then you've got your PR side of things. You've got to know who to speak to online, on print, on radio, on podcasts, like Chats with Whiskey, you've got all this prep work and all this time and effort. Yeah. So I've got my normal day job, which I sit at home on a computer and I do it all remotely.
Right.
And so most of my meetings, especially since COVID, it's kind of on meetings
Zoom
from Zoom and you do that. Starting to travel now, which is going to be interesting. Trying to juggle band commitments. And,
another ball in the
air. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'll do that, and then I've tried to spend an hour a day, either very first thing in the morning or at night, just going through, making sure that it's kind of all the admin-y stuff is getting taken care of,
right.
And I'm working out, well, okay, who can we speak to for the next album release? Who can I speak to for about the next gig that we can promo the next gig coming up with? Which once again I enjoy it immensely, but it's also a lot of time. And then after that, I've got to practice. I've got to write songs. I've got to write lyrics. You've got to listen through to the stuff that we're recording, because we don't use a producer or mixer. We're all doing it ourselves.
Yes.
And so everybody's recording stuff. We're sending around, listening, making little notes, and saying do this, don't do that. And so it takes up a lot of time. There's a lot of money that goes into it, as you know as well. It's a great thing to do, but it's it can really chew through the dollars.
Absolutely, and this is why when venues try and use the old, but you'll get exposure. We're not going to pay you anything, but you'll get exposure. It's like, hang on a second. Do you have any idea how much effort got into us being able to even be on stage and play? And your patrons are going to be enjoying it. Hopefully they will be, and they'll be spending money behind your bar.
Well, that's what you want. I mean, it'd be great if you had venue. You need venues with gravity who will attract people just to turn up because they know there's going to be good music there and it's a cool scene. And there are a few of those around. Tomcat in the City, that's like that. That's great.
Venue, yes.
You get a load of people turn up there who are outside of the music scene, and they'll turn up just to see what's going. So that's a great example of a place that that's working in Brisbane like that. Greaser as well downstairs. I think they're owned by the same family. The mob who own the Elephant.
The Elephant. Well, now the Prince Consulate, but yes, it was the Elephant.
Oh, the Prince Consulate.
The Prince Consulate.
How awfully nice. Is that in line with the recent ascension of the throne to Charles?
Well, no, but it should be. But no, I think it was... I don't know, at least a year. It's probably been a couple of years, but everyone in the scene knows
how out
that
of
it's
touch I am with what's happening at the Elephant. So,
and I think, is it the woolly mammoth?
The mammoth, the mammoth's good. That's got that big room. We've played up there for a bit. That's got some great places.
I've not played at the Mammoth, but I've been to a few different shows. Actually, I went to a night that had a heavy. I wouldn't say hard heavy, but heavy rock. A heavy rock night there. And it was put on very well, and unfortunately, I don't remember the names of the bands, but they were good. And one of the drummers was blind, like totally blind.
Really?
Not blind drunk.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lots of those, but yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty incredible. And he had a guy that if anyone knows who I'm talking about, they're a Brisbane band, please put it in the comments. But he had a guy that helped him set up. Well, he set it up for him, and then sort of sat him down and gave him the sticks, and then he just started playing. It's like, is that guy blind? What the fuck's happening? Like it was really cool. Yeah, it was really cool. And I mean, he could play too. It's not like this isn't just a sympathy kind of a pity party type of thing. Like he could legit play.
Yeah.
But he couldn't see a damn thing. I just thought that was amazing.
Yeah.
But anyway, I just jumped back into my mind when we're talking about the woolly mammoth. Sorry.
Yeah, and you hear things like that. It makes me feel really, really slack that I don't get up and do something, because here's a guy who's gone and overcome a challenge like that to become a really talented drummer. And it's kind of I can play guitar, I can play bass. I'd love to be able to play keyboard. That's the other thing that I'm trying to do. I've got a keyboard, a Roland. What is it? It emulates a Hammond organ. Anyway, I'd love to do all that John Lord kind of stuff.
Yeah, right.
And I keep saying, I'm going to sit down. I'll learn to play Burn. I want to play the solo of that. And I've had the thing now for 2 years, and I'll keep coming up and going to it, and still sit down and going, right, D sharp, F, G, and I'll start back again. But
not
this
quite
guy's stuck with it, and he's gone through and he's learnt to play the drums. So I'm totally in awe of people like that.
So am I, and I have no idea. I mean, maybe he was drumming before becoming blind. I have no idea. But either way, it just goes to show that you can overcome adversity. Whether it's that he was, able to see and learn drums, but then went blind and decided he wasn't going to let that stop him, or maybe he could never see, and he was like, "Well, I love the sound of that." So, either way, it's impressive, and it does make me think when I'm like, "Oh, my back's sore. I don't want to play guitar." It's like, fucking hard enough. Hard enough.
That's it, mate. Fight to win. That's there you go. I am going to have another whiskey, actually.
Do it.
Sorry, I'm just going to grab one of these.
Since you've got it in your hand, would you be able to top me up? Do you first. Do you first.
There you go. No, that's
help
okay.
yourself.
There we go.
Don't worry, that cork won't fall out. I don't know how it got in. Fucking things.
This is a very nice. We're not sponsored.
It's easy to drink.
We're not sponsored, are we? There we go. So,
I'd like to be.
But it's a nice one.
Yeah,
it is a nice one. Glenn, there we go. It's Glenn. So we're not going to show the name of the rest of it until we get sponsorship.
Yeah. It's Glenn something.
Glenn something. It's really it's a lovely one.
Yeah, or is it something Grant?
So yeah.
Yeah.
But where were we?
We were around the valley and
Around
Woolly
the valley.
Mammoth.
Brightside's the other place.
Yes.
Brightside fun venue needs a damn good clean. It's probably got the worst loos in Brisbane. I would say. So there was a report on Facebook a while ago that the door had disappeared. It's somebody had stolen the door of the gents' loo in the cubicle, not the actual main door. It had just disappeared.
Oh, the actual door to go into the toilet area, not just one of the cubicle doors.
No. The cubicle door had disappeared. The front door had gone. But I just wrote, it probably got up and walked out by itself. Because it's honestly, the paint was peeling off. Your eyes would water walking out through there. But it's if they hint guys, if they clean it up, it'll be an awesome venue because it's got the sunken stage, and when you're standing on the stage, you've got all these tiers around you, and when you've got a good crowd in there, it's fantastic. It's like
like that arena feel.
It is, it is. It's like a mini version of the Tivoli. I've yet to play the Tiv.
Oh, me, yeah.
I used to work next door there, and it was great. I got free entry to the concert. At
the Jube. The Jubilee?
No. It was a business. But,
I see. Yeah.
But I used to. We used to go in and see a load of gigs there. So awesome venue. That really is one of the best places. That's on my bucket list. I've got to get GoatZilla and play the Tiv.
I think playing any arena would be a bucket list for me, but I don't know if I'll ever get the opportunity. But hey, I will be at yours when you're there. That's for sure.
I think we'll have you guys on support. So.
Oh, there you go. There we go. Done. No, I first time that I went to the Tiv, I saw. I actually can't remember which one was first, but I've seen both Rodriguez and Slash there, and it was, I think, very interesting seeing Slash there because, to me, he's Guns N' Roses. He's stadium. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Tivoli doesn't hold a hell of a lot of people, but it's a great venue. So it was kind of cool seeing him in almost like an intimate setting. You know, it's not quite intimate, but from what I grew up knowing Slash to play, the Tivoli is intimate. You know, I would welcome the opportunity to play there. But it's a great venue. Is there somewhere other than the Tivoli, like, you know, if you maybe it's Wembley Stadium, maybe it's, I don't know, maybe it's Suncourt Stadium, but you know, do you have sort of that? Do you still have that hope of playing really, really big shows? Or
I'd be lying if I said no. Look, it'd be wonderful. It'd be absolutely awesome, and the bigger the crowd, the better.
Yeah.
But I mean, we've all been to big stadium shows.
Yeah.
And it's fun to say you've been there, but when you compare them to a pub gig, there's just not the atmosphere there when you're in the crowd.
Yeah.
It's good because I started off my rock and roll journey going out to see live bands, and this was back in the 80s in Sydney because I grew up in Sydney when the rock circuit was still going.
Right.
And you'd go out to pubs. I mean, there were decent sized auditoriums in pubs, but they were still relatively small. So it certainly wasn't. It'd be the biggest. It'd be, you're choking on your unnamed Glen something whiskey. There you go. You okay?
Yep.
Do you want some more? Will that help? And we're back.
And we're back.
There you go. So I started off going out to see, when it was live bands, it was the Sydney rock circuit. So auditoriums in Brisbane terms, probably the biggest is like the Zoo.
Yes.
But that size, and you'd see, the Angels. I mean, it's still very old school Aussie rock, but there's still those guys in Midnight Oil. Midnight Oil was playing bigger places then, but they'd still come out and they do rock circuit tours too, and unbelievable live acts. It's kind
Yeah.
of that set an extremely high bar for me when I first started going out.
Yeah.
I think Australia was pretty spoilt with acts like those guys,
Yeah.
Rose Tattoo and the Radios and the
Oh, yeah,
Boars,
of course,
I mentioned.
Rose Tattoo, yeah. Wow.
And you get Hoodoo Gurus who back in the day were nowhere near as poppy as they're now part of the mainstream music scene.
Yeah, yeah.
And good on them, that's great.
Yeah.
But they were
were.
a heavy indie band back then. They
Yeah,
were
yeah.
a lot heavier than they are now. So
Yes.
it wasn't all What's My Scene and
Yeah.
happy joy
Yeah,
and stuff.
yeah.
But it was really cool. And Radio Birdman, all the Hitmen were touring at the time after Birdman, and Sunny Boys, and it's a massive group of really top acts.
Yeah.
And that I loved, and that vibe of being in the club, and
Yeah.
you'd feel, if you're close enough to the stage, you'd feel the kick drum.
Yes.
And you could reach out and you grab Doc's hand or something
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that. And
yeah.
and that was amazing. Whereas in a stadium,
Yeah.
it's kind of, you can see these little figures
Yeah, that's
leaping
right.
around, and
Yeah.
there's this big screen. And
Yes.
you'd be better off sitting back at home and watching them on telly.
That's one of the things that I find, I guess, disappointing with stadium concerts is unless you're buying a really, really expensive ticket to be, in that diamond reserve sort of thing right at the front, then really you are watching it on a screen. Yeah, you're hearing it live, and that's cool, and you're around fans, and that's cool. But visually, if you're in much more than an arena, there's going to be screens, and the vast majority of people there are going to have to be watching it on those screens.
Yeah.
So
Some of it, some bands need it. I mean, if you're somebody like Iron Maiden, okay,
Yeah.
I would love to see Iron Maiden at the zoo. I mean, that would be the Iron Maidens, the female cover band played there. But
did they?
But yeah, for the
that's a group of very hot, very talented chicks.
Oh God, they're very, very good. But no, Maiden, somebody like Maiden, somebody like Guns N' Roses, they stay, as you said, Slash, you think Guns N' Roses, you think you think stadium, and they've got the stage show to back it up.
Yes.
But if it's just, two guitars, bass, drums, singer, it's kind of, and black T-shirts and jeans, then you need the small, you need to feel part of that group, because it's the crowd experience as well.
Yes.
Which is, I mentioned Ezekiel Locks earlier, and he's a master at getting crowds like that.
Yeah, right.
And he'll conduct them if you will.
Wow. So he's got crowd control.
He does, yeah. He got a box out and he stood out. He had a wireless mic, and somebody bought a box, like a big Esky out, and he stood in the middle of the floor in the back room, and he's directing the pit, and he's going, okay, it's kind of, we're going to go around this way and around this way.
Wow.
And he's singing, and he's reaching out to people and grabbing people and handing them the mic. And,
wow.
And he had the crowd in the palm of his hand. That's why he's so good. It just comes naturally to him. I wish I had that kind of talent.
Well,
but so it's that kind of crowd vibe, that tribal thing, as Bernadette says, my better half says, you that adds to the whole experience.
Absolutely. And I guess you do totally lose that within stadiums, but that's as a spectator or as a patron. Would you want to play a stadium?
Oh, Jesus, yeah.
Exactly.
Of course, yeah.
That's what I was getting at. Like, I mean, to me, that would be. I could die happy. I feel like, just give me that one stadium show.
Well, one of the great things, and the aim is part of the bucket list, is to do one of the major festivals, like the Soundwave or something like that. Get onto one of those bills.
Yep.
Because they've got the big stages there. And they've got the big crowds.
Yes.
But people can come in and you can get up reasonably close to the stage.
Yes.
And it's and the crowd can get as close as they want. And so it's,
you get a more diverse crowd too.
Yeah.
Because they're not just there to see you. Heaps of them would have never heard of, we've all been to festivals, and it's very hard to know all of the bands.
Yeah.
But it can be such a great way to be like, well, I know I want to see this band and this band, but in between those, let's check out this band. And then that's GoatZilla. And then all of a sudden you've got 10,000 people that had never seen you before that have now, you know?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be epic.
Yeah.
The festival circuit is something that, I've not been part of, but I'd love to.
Yeah. So hopefully we'll see those starting to come back. And,
yes, I'm sure.
And growing. So they kind of copped a double whammy. They've got, well, a triple whammy really, because they had all the politicisation. It's kind of, they're just all about drugs.
Yes,
and
true.
and so the insurance costs got up, and the permits got a lot more difficult to get. And of course, for anybody wanting to bring in big names from overseas, it costs them an absolute fortune, because they're not just flying a 4-piece band over. They've got all the gear, which costs a bomb, and then they've got management, and the bands will want to bring people, and so to make it worth their while, there's a lot of money involved just to bring a 4 or 5-piece band over. And if they're a big name, those guys could be making a lot more money playing somewhere in the US or somewhere in Europe, where it's a hell of a lot easier to get to. Yeah, and they've got the infrastructure there set up for it. Yeah. So you've got that. But I'd still love to go out and play one of those major festivals. Oh yeah, I saw that. Have you watched that special on Woodstock '99?
Yes, I have. Trainwreck.
Oh yeah.
Fuck me, I didn't actually realise that it was as bad as what it was. Like I knew that Woodstock '99 was a train wreck, but I didn't realise it was as chaotic as what it was.
That was hell.
I sent a message to my son after watching it. So he's 19. He often asks me, about what it was like in the 90s and things like that. And I sent a message to him after watching that, and I was like, dude, you need to watch this. This is like, I knew that Woodstock '99 it doesn't actually deserve the title Woodstock. That's something that I don't like about it. It should have just been called something else. But anyhow, it was fucking mental. It became a full riot, a legit riot by the end of it. Yeah. Absolutely insane.
Yeah, it was the organisers' fault, because, you had the different artists there, and they were doing what artists are meant to do. They're meant to rev the crowd up. Yeah. We were talking about that energy before. Yeah. And a lot of the crowds do go to rock concerts, and you've got all this energy that you want to let out. And that's where a good frontman knows how to control that.
Yes.
And these guys knew how to control it, but they weren't putting it into context as to what happening. So it was Fred Durst.
Fred Durst from Limp Bizkit, when he started singing break stuff.
So
they were like, okay, they just took it as direction.
Yeah, let's destroy the joint. But it was there. Who else? Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Peppers were there.
They played
Rage were there.
Rage were there. They were trying to calm things down.
Yeah, that's the thing. They were trying to calm things down, but bands like Limp Bizkit and I can't think of. There's another one
Limp Bizkit, Peppers, and there was a third one who was causing trouble as well.
Yeah.
But they didn't. I think they got up on stage and they didn't know what else was going on at the time. Yeah, and they were just doing let's get the crowd as wild as possible.
That's right.
And they do that. So the organisers should have come in. But anyway, it's hopefully people have learnt by that. But what I started off saying was, the event's got hit by 3 things. So they've got the costs involved, and they've got the political side of things. They've also got the people, the NIMBYs, not wanting that in their backyard. Complaining about the noise. They've got the insurance costs went through the roof. They skyrocketed. They had to cancel. They had to actually cancel a Mardi Gras parade in Sydney because of that, which is
really
years ago. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's back on, but I don't know if the full parade still runs. Just the insurance cost was so high, they couldn't afford to do it. And then they had COVID come in, and then you get people who were less than honest with the way that they'd managed the money. Yeah. Not mentioning anybody because I don't want to get chats with whiskey into legal trouble, but there was there's a very famous case of a heavy rock festival that went under because the organiser wasn't paying people. So
is that right?
Yeah. So
here in Australia, or
here in Australia, yeah. Oh. So he shorted and. He didn't, and they were big names. It's like Ministry. He got into a big public spat with Al Jorgensen of Ministry.
I think I know the festival you're talking about.
Yeah. So that was.
We will say no names.
So
but I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, we've got to. We just need more festivals
More
here
festivals,
for
more
Australia.
festivals, people.
Yeah, bring back the big days out.
Oh yeah, the big day out, that was a good one. Yeah, and there are plenty of small ones. I find that the biggest issue that I have is actually finding out about them in time. You know, you kind of it shits me, but I find that someone's like, "Oh, you didn't go to such and such last weekend." It's like, look, last weekend. Fuck, I'm only hearing about it now.
Yeah.
You know, it's somehow getting the message out there more. And look, we've all got Facebook and Instagram and whatever, TikTok or
It's
whatever.
the algorithm, the evil algorithms,
yeah,
man. They don't show you what you need to see.
Exactly, until after. And then they're like, why weren't you there?
Yeah, exactly. I had a great time at this. You go, what the fuck?
Yeah, I would have been there.
But yeah, I know. Instead, you get all of this stuff on somebody. I've got nothing against cat pictures. I love cat pictures. We have 3 cats ourselves. They're wonderful. But I don't need to see the 28th picture of someone's cat looking cute. Compared to knowing about the fact that there's a major festival that that they're desperately seeking a 4-piece band with goat in its name that they want to play. So we don't get to see that kind of thing.
Yeah.
You can see there's some seriously talented bands out there in Brisbane, in the underground scene,
all throughout Southeast Queensland, all throughout Australia. But Southeast Queensland's got no shortage of talent.
Yeah.
No shortage of talent.
Absolutely. And if
across all genres.
And this would be the whole thing. If it was before streaming,
yes,
a lot of these bands would be signed, but they'd all be they wouldn't be making any money out of it. There'd be big names, but not making a lot of cash out of it. So it's that whole thing. You've got to be successful before a label will look at you.
Yes.
But once you're successful, you don't
really need the label to look at you. Yeah, that's right.
It'd be handy to have a manager to look after all the admin and allow you to get on with doing the music stuff, which is what everybody starts off doing it for.
Yeah.
Hopefully that problem's not too far off in the distant future.
Yeah, exactly.
People who are out there and who have stayed the distance and who are out there still booking gigs, and there's loads of top people out there in the scene who are doing this. Mousy Whitburn, who does the Shred Fest, absolutely amazing guy.
Yeah.
I don't know the count of Shred Fests that is put on, but in the metal scene, the guy's a legend. He's taking a break for it. We're hoping he comes back and puts on new Shred Fest soon. But he puts on some amazing stuff. We've got Andy who puts on Wallapalooza. Takes up an amazing amount of time and effort for him to do that. Aaron Cosgrove, who is on a smaller scale, Aaron and Alan, who work out at the Kerwick out at Redbank near your neck of the woods. They've been doing that for years, and that's a huge amount of time and effort that they put in there just to put on local bands. But because of their work, and because their band Broken Legs started off roughly about the same time GoatZilla did.
Yeah, right.
And Aaron just loved getting in there and organising the gigs, and Alan.
Yeah.
And they've now turned the Kerwick into a bit of a stop, so you get touring bands coming up from down south.
Oh, that's cool.
Playing there as well.
Cool. Yeah.
So you get people, people like that. There's people like Caitlin Kuhneman, who's doing the Rock Beats Depression gig as well, who's also done the Rock Beats Cancer and
various
and people who are dedicated not as a money making thing. It's just because they love the music and they love bringing people together.
Yeah.
And it's a real community thing. Which is fantastic. It's it would be great if there's a lot more money in it.
Yes.
So people like that could get properly remunerated for the time and effort they put in, and the bands get remunerated. Anyway, look, I want to give you something. So thank you very much for having me on the show. Here's a copy of Motherfuckersaurus.
Oh,
there you go.
Sick.
So
thank you.
Thank you very much. I've had a
GoatZilla motherfucking Saurus.
And there's
available right now on Spotify, on
the GoatZilla website. Buy it off the Goat. You can listen to it on Spotify, but
buy it direct.
If you feel any desire to send us some money, you can buy it on Bandcamp or off our website.
Yeah, please do.
And
Nine kick-ass tracks.
There we go.
That's sick.
And
thanks, man. I appreciate that.
No, my pleasure. And there's some GoatZilla stickers as
well.
well.
Let me just move the camera back. There we go. Some GoatZilla stickers.
There you go. You can use those. You can vandalise the locals around and put those on a few police cars as you walk past.
I'm going to put one on here somewhere. I'll find... right on the... Fuck, that belongs right there, doesn't it? Right there on the skull. That's what I was just trying to do. So we'll do that now. We better do that now. Maybe we won't do it now. I'll get to it.
Do you want me to, there's a trick to these. I've worked it out.
I've never been any good with stickers. Yeah, get that on its skull.
There we go.
Shit. That is so perfect. GoatZilla, ladies and gentlemen.
I hope it's going to stick.
I'm gonna be cranking the shit out of this when I
don't know if he's going
on my drive home.
It's too.
Well, you've given me
you've
given me a few. We'll keep it there as Besson's. It's not liking it too much, but look, we're committed now.
Yeah.
But where are we? What camera? Where am I? That one. Yes, GoatZilla sticker on the skull. That's perfect. Thank you. I appreciate that. It's really kind of you. Would you be so kind as to sign my CD for me?
Oh, thank you for asking.
Would you? Yeah. Okay. Cool. Give me a second. I'll grab a pen.
Okay. While you're doing that, I'm going to pour another.
Oh, go on then.
If whoever want to sponsor us want to.
Yeah. Please.
Us, I mean, when I say us, I mean Chats with Whiskey.
Oh, look, we're all. One.
If you bought out a GoatZilla version of this, I'm sure myself and the other goats would be.
Oh yeah.
They'd be delighted.
You guys could get
lots of great Australian
GoatZilla whiskey.
We could goat whiskey.
Goat whiskey.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you so much for the CD. I greatly appreciate it.
Pleasure.
And I
play it long, play it loud.
I will indeed. Yep. What's the old saying? My neighbours don't always listen to GoatZilla, but when I do, they do.
No, I don't always listen to GoatZilla when my neighbours do. I think that's it.
Yeah, something like that. So you knew what I was getting at.
Yeah.
But if you'd sign it for me, I'd love that.
So thank you very much. I shall do so. So this is we've got as I mentioned a bit earlier, we've got some new stuff coming out shortly.
Yeah.
So where would you like me to sign? On the cover?
Well, yeah, I reckon on the cover. Yeah. But I mean, look, chuck a few on. Chuck one on the CD itself. But on the cover would be great.
The one, so.
Yeah, chuck it on the cover because at the new studio that we're going to soon, I'll put the cover up on the wall along with any other things that people might gift.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Whiskey rules. And Z. There you go. There you go.
Thank you muchly.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Let's go to, there we go. Signed there. It's a little bit hard, a little bit of glare, but whiskey rules. Awesome. Thank you, Mr. Ben Zilla. That's awesome. Your wife is sort of involved in the band in terms of photography. Is that right?
She's a band. She's emerged as a bit of a band photographer in her own right. Bert took up when I started playing. Bert had always been a keen photographer. She'd travelled through Africa and Asia and everything. Took a lot of photos before we met, and I started playing, and she said, "I'll come along to the gigs and take some photos as well." And if anybody's tried to take photos at a gig, I mean, good photos at a gig, you run into all kinds of it's probably the hardest environment to take photographs in. So you've got low light, you've got some incredibly bright lights flashing in between, you've got all different kind of colour lights flashing around, you've got people moving around really quickly on stage, you've got all of these microphones and things in front blocking it off. So it's a really bloody tough gig. Bird jumped in and stuck with it and is now, she's getting stuff published in Heavy magazine now, taking a lot of photos for a lot of local bands. So she goes by Lady Zilla, And
right.
if you go onto Facebook and see Lady Zilla photography, you can see a whole range. So she doesn't just photograph; she'll get photos of us, but she tries to photograph all the bands that we play with on the day.
Cool.
So she starts work basically as soon as the first band comes on, and works all the way through to the last band.
Wow.
That's kind of, we'll get there, we'll set up the merch table, we'll have a few drinks, we'll play, we'll finish, listen to the other bands, have a chat, and Burr's out there taking photos. So yeah,
but she's the hardest working member.
So yeah, it doesn't actually charge the other bands for it either at the moment. So that may have to change because the gear's getting expensive. But But yeah, if anybody wants to check out the photos, if you look up Lady Zilla on Facebook, you can see some of the pics that
cool, Lady Zilla
she's taken. Yeah,
we'll make sure that we chuck a little link on on this video during edit. And when I've googled GoatZilla, it obviously comes up with a lot of different pictures, but including stage pictures.
Yeah.
Would it be fair to say that most, or perhaps all of them, would be from her, or maybe
90% of them? 90% of them, yeah. There's a bunch of really good photographers in the scene who've captured us. You're not always guaranteed to have one there. So But I'd say probably all of the ones on our website would be from Burr. If you go through our web page, there'll be whoever's taken the time to come out and photograph us and say, "Here, I've taken some photos of you." We're always very, very grateful for that, because the photos are always going to be from different angles. They're going to capture a different mood of the band.
Yes.
And photographers are artists in their own right, and they have their own vision that they impair. So
100%.
in the photos. So we love it when people do that. So if anybody ever comes along. Burr's going to be there taking photos of us, of course, but it's kind of we love having people come along.
You're welcome.
We play up for the camera, so we love that. Yeah,
that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. Well, look, before we wrap up for the evening, first of all, thank you again, of course. But is there anything that Tell the world, tell the people what's happening with GoatZilla, what's happening, what have you got coming up? Is there a gig that you need to plug, whatever it might be?
Well, I mentioned it earlier, but we do have the gig for Rock Beats Depression, very important cause.
At the Mansfield Tavern.
At the Mansfield Tavern on the 5th of November.
Yep.
There's us, there's Hammers, there's Piston Fist, there's Collins Class.
Yes.
There's Punctilious, I'm just trying to remember, there's Swamp Gully Howlers.
Yes.
Who else is playing up there? There's a whole. I don't have the list.
I'll put a screenshot on this video of the poster. Yeah, and
there's a Spotify. So Spotify.
Is that like Spotify?
Playlist. Spotify. Yeah, go to Spotify. There's a playlist on there, and I've put it together with all of the bands that I could find. A couple of tracks off each. Go along, check it out. Just look Rock Beats Depression on Spotify. They'll all be listed there. Couple of tracks. If you particularly like any of them, you can go out and listen to the rest of their stuff as well. So there's some brilliant stuff there. Some of them I hadn't played or hadn't got a chance to listen to previously, and I was sitting there going, "Wow,
that's
this
cool.
is fantastic." So it's always fun doing that. That's one of the reasons. As I mentioned before, a lot of problems with Spotify. There's also some very good things about it though, because you can also. It's easy to discover new bands and local bands like this who are trying to get their music out. And I spend a lot of time searching around, especially the fans also like.
Yeah, yes, of course, yeah.
Section there, so...
people who listen to this also listen to this type of... Yeah.
And we'll be releasing... We haven't decided if it's going to be an EP or an album yet. We're still... Okay. We've certainly got enough tracks to record to put out an album. It just depends on how long it takes, but that will be coming out very soon, and then we will be heading out into the world to take it take it further afield.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're really looking forward to finally getting out to do that. We've made it south of the border a few times, but that's it. We need to get out and see a bunch of friends down in Melbourne and Sydney and, as I said, across the Dutch, New Zealand,
Aotearoa.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sure some of our mates over in WA would love to see you. And
mate, I would love to get out there as well. We've actually got quite a follow. I keep getting pinged on Facey from people in West Australia saying, "Oh, come out! There's a bunch of great people out there." So we got on a video of one group of guys doing donuts to High Octane off our album,
rad.
which is
That's cool.
Which is absolutely brilliant. So they've said, "Oh, come out! We're trying to organise a Rock Beats Depression gig out here."
Oh, cool.
We'd love to do it. It just depends getting over to Perth.
Especially with equipment, it ain't cheap.
It gets a bit in the exy side, and it's not as if you can jump on your bike and ride there for cheap either.
Yeah,
so.
exactly.
But
That's
definitely would love to get over to Perth's a top place. So great beaches too. So would love to if finances allow.
Sure, exactly. Yeah, couple of them stadium gigs that should take care of it.
That's it. Yeah, we just have to play Glastonbury and
there you go. Now we're talking.
Next Soundwave.
Yeah. Well, look, I greatly appreciate how enthusiastic you are about not only your own band and your own music, but it came across very apparent how appreciative you are of all bands and all different music and everyone within the industry.
Well, it's an industry. It's not just about the bands, and that's it. Until you actually start getting out there and playing it, you don't. The bands are the focal point. The bands are why people do it. There's a lot of people who don't play music who put in massive amounts of time and effort.
Like Lady Zilla.
Like Lady Zilla. Like your Chris Tryhorns, like your of Mo's, like your Chris Peters of Heavy. Yes. Who will just put on music because they love and talk about music and make their business around music because they love it. It's not making anybody a lot of money. It's actually costing a lot of people a lot of money, but they want to keep the scene going. Yeah, and exactly. It's a real community thing, and they're all top people, and they're all great to have a beer with or a whiskey with.
Yes,
they're great to have a Glen Grant whiskey with. It's just a great group of people to be involved with.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, when your album or EP, whichever one it may be, is launched or ready to launch or whenever it might be, I'd love to have you back on. And by that stage, I'll be in the new studio, which will be cool. I'll have a little bit more space and be able to have a couple more microphones set up.
Can you get a band playing in there?
What? Shit, we can get a band playing in there.
Okay.
Yes. Oh my God.
There we go. So we might do that. Whiskey at the Wireless. There we go.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. Goats and whiskey.
Yes, that's a combination and a half.
Yeah. But look, thank you again very much, my friend. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you. I've enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Immensely.
Thank you. And have you got any more? You got a
look, I think there's enough in the bottom. That's just going to evaporate.
Exactly.
I think we should. Here we go. You have half.
We better.
I'll have half.
It'd be rude not.
Because otherwise, it would, and it'll just go to waste otherwise.
Exactly. Yeah. Look at that. Perfect.
Just
perfect.
Enough.
Yep. All right. Well, here's to you, and here's to Brisbane music or Queensland music.
Queensland music in general.
Yeah, here's to music.
Metal.
Cheers. Metal. Thank you, everybody.